Just after high noon on this, the 16th day of the partial government shutdown, leadership took to the Senate floor to announce a deal. It reopens the government immediately, funds the government until January 15, 2014, and raises the debt ceiling until February 7, 2014.
During which time we can work toward a long-term budget agreement that prevents these frequent crises. And perhaps most importantly, this legislation ends a standoff to ground the work of Washington to a halt.
The agreement between Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell mandates serious progress on long-term spending by budget negotiators by mid-December. It also calls for an enhanced income verification system for people signing up for health care.
This is far less than many of us had hoped for, frankly, but it's far better than what some had sought. Now it's time for Republicans to unite behind other crucial goals.
That's a subtle message to the likes of Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who led a crusade to defund Obamacare in any government funding.
Once again, it appears the Washington establishment is refusing to listen to the American people. The deal that has been cut provides no relief to the millions of Americans who are hurting because of Obamacare.
But Cruz says he won't block the vote in the Senate, which turns the attention to the House, where Speaker of the House John Boehner met with the Republican majority Wednesday afternoon and encouraged voting for the bill, saying, "We fought the good fight, we just didn't win." For its part, the White House isn't declaring victory, only saying the president is pleased with the Senate deal.
There are no winners here. We've said that from the beginning, and we're going to say it right up to the end because it's true. The American people have paid a price for this. And nobody who's sent here to Washington by the American people can call themselves a winner if the American people have paid a price for what's happened.
Now the pressure is on to take the votes and get the bill passed before Thursday dawns.
If they can move it through the House quickly, which they will, and they can move it through the Senate quickly, which they likely will, then the president can get it and sign it in time.
But political analyst John Hudak says people shouldn't discount how costly, economically and reputation-wise, the last few weeks will prove.
The package that's going to be passed tonight is the same package that was offered weeks and weeks ago. It's not as if negotiations have led to anything new. It's not like the needle has been moved in any way. We could have done this in September, and the Republicans failed to let it happen in September. And the American public is going to remember that for quite some time.
And while we have a lot of people here on the Hill happy in the fact that they're going to avert financial disaster here, get the government back open, we are hearing a lot of grumbling about, hey, this is just basically kicking the can down the road into this possibly coming up again in January and then February. We know those negotiators are supposed to sit down from the House and from the Senate, from both parties, and start negotiating seriously about the terms of a budget going forward. But some people fear we could be at this once again in just a couple months and into the new year. Logan, tonight we understand it plays this way. The Senate is probably going to take a vote now in the early part of the evening. It is then expected the House possibly takes up this bill later in the evening, and there is still that open window to get it to the president before midnight. But we heard from the White House today that technically they're saying they're not going to go over that cliff and have us hit that debt ceiling until end of business tomorrow. So there is some leeway here.
Now, Kyle, Jay Carney says there are no winners in this, but clearly there are winners and there are losers. Explain, who are the winners, who are the losers?
Well, you know, depending who you talk to here and what their partisan sway is, a lot of people are going to say, in essence, if you're going to name a winner in all this, it's going to have to be President Obama and the Democrats for holding their line, saying they weren't really going to negotiate on anything big when it comes to Obamacare, as the Republicans like to call it, and that they believe that the government should be reopened and that the debt ceiling increase with no strings attached, even in a short-term resolution, which is what we are getting here. A lot of other people say, and the polling shows, it is the Republicans that are taking the biggest brunt of this situation here. In the last poll, 74% of Americans say that it is the Republicans who are to blame for all of this. That's a pretty high number, and a lot of people within the rank and file of the GOP know that they've done some damage here and that they have a lot of rehabilitating of their reputation and the job they do here in Washington to do over the next couple months and years.
Now, Kyle, a lot of analysts are saying or speculating that the Republicans don't really need to destroy Obamacare because it is self-imploding, and all you got to do is step back and let the nation see what has happened since Americans were supposed to be able to sign on starting October 1st. It's been a mess. Does this now shift the national conversation?
Well, you know, Logan, there's a lot to have talked about in just the budget and our financial situation as far as the government's concerned to begin with, and that is supposed to start in earnest either later this week or first thing next week. But you are right. All that focus that may have been on the rollout of Obamacare and how it hasn't gone so smoothly, all the focus that could have been there was on all the shutdown of the government and raising this debt limit. A lot of people saying now within the Republican ranks even that maybe they missed an opportunity here to take the shots and have the front page news above the fold about Obamacare. And said, even the president himself said in a local news interview that he taped at the White House, he said he's not happy with how things have been going and the difficulties people have been having on the different websites when they're trying to sign up. He says that they're going to continue to try to make it better, but you can only imagine once we get all past this tonight and tomorrow, maybe that focus turns squarely onto health care reform and how people aren't too happy with how they have to cope with this so far.
All right, Ebru's Kyle Schmoyer reporting live tonight from the nation's capital. Thanks so much for your insight and that report.